how do you make meaning that is enabling? And if you could...
How do I make meaning that is enabling? Yeah.
Give some examples.
I can give some examples of that. Okay. Part of making meaning that is enabling is being aware of what's the goal and objective. So we spoke earlier about how context matters. Context is extremely important. In Enlighten Up, the book I've just written, there's I speak of how the advice that someone gives depends, is only appropriate when depending on the context.
Yeah.
For example, were I to give the advice, eat something. That could be brilliant advice if you were hungry, but if you were full or if you were fasting, not such great advice. And when people give advice, they don't actually know the context that somebody else is living in as fully as the person themselves does, right? No one else will ever know your context as well as you know your context. No one else will ever know you as well as you know you. Yeah? Intimately. So, be mindful of that. Being aware of the objective is the first step. So how do we make meaning that's enabling? Well, what's enabling in one context is not enabling in another, right? If I was to jump in the pool, what would be enabling is if I was wearing a swimming costume, right? That would be appropriate in that context. And yet, if I were to rock up to present if I'm presenting at a conference and I wore a swimming costume to present at a conference, not so enabling.
Okay.
Yeah? The context will impact it. So how do we make meaning that's enabling? One, be aware of what is the context, what's the purpose, what's the context. So I'll give an example. I'll make it really relevant to my lived experience. So some years ago, I partnered with a man that many people would say, what are you doing with that person?
Oh, I was one of them.
You seem like you're polar up, like I don't understand why you're together. I cannot understand. And yet, my intention was very, very clear. Very clear. Anything I'm seeing there and not loving there is something I'm not fully loving and seeing and appreciating in self. So I deliberately, consciously, intentionally was, let this man be my mirror for the bits of self that are harder for me to accept and acknowledge and appreciate. Because we all, when it comes to like-minded people, it's easy for us to love them. It's easy for us to be like, you're like me. Oh,
that's why I get along with you, because you're just like me.
But then the people that trigger us, then the people that we want to say, you're different, you're other, you're this and I'm that. That's challenging for us. Yeah, as humans, we want to be like, you stay over there. I don't want to have anything to do with you because you're like that and I'm like this. And so our minds want to create this separation. And so I used this relationship, this relating with this being as the playground for me to really truly embody there is no separation. In this, to see whatever turns up there, let me love it. Let me love it.
What would you suggest to someone? Okay, I'll make it more personal. I know I see value in what you say, and I know that
I haven't finished it though.
Okay.
I haven't, because there's another little bit, and that's important, right?
I thought you
so that bit, because I have to add this bit. It's only just, it's important that I add this context. When that season had ended, when that lesson had ended, when that learning had, when I was told, you've done your work, you've done your learning, this is not appropriate anymore. This is a relationship that a lot of people throughout the duration would say that's domestic violence. You're in a domestic violence partnership. I regularly would get that feedback, and none of that was it was not in it was irrelevant for me because I had a goal and I had an objective and I had something that I was consciously, mindfully attending to. And so when because this actually amazed me that this happened when our partnering ended, and because the wisdom said leave, all throughout our partnering, when the human would get ruffled and triggered and I would take it to meditation and ask for guidance on the matter, I would be told, do your work, love this man, every single time throughout the whole of our 5 years together. And then one day there was another incident and I took it to meditation. The human wasn't ruffled. The human was like, still happening after 5 years. These behaviors still happening. Okay, this is what's here. Namaha. And wisdom said, leave. So I did. The instruction changed. Then, the weeks that followed, there was a lot of grief and anger and sadness that came up. And I remember reading an article once about like 13 signs that you're with a narcissist. And I'm like, oh goodness, he's 9 of those. Like, there's no, actually, maybe that was 11. Like, it was all but 2. And I was like, how did I not notice that before? How did I not notice any of these behaviors before? Well, they were there all along, but how come I was blind to it? Why couldn't I see it if it was there all along? And then I worked out I was focused on my objective. And my objective was, at that time, this season, let me love whatever shows up. Would it have been enabling for me to be like, this is narcissistic behavior? You're behaving. No, that would not have been enabling. That would not have supported me. That would not have been helpful. But the context changed when we were separate. Then my body was looking for, my system was trying to find ways to be okay with the attachment that I had built to this being on a biochemical level. There was some withdrawal happening from oxytocin that was no longer there, that was there in my physical biochemical experience. And so the brain was trying to support me with that. Again, that was enabling meaning making. Look here, he was never right for you all along. You see these still meaning making, still meaning making. Do you get that? That label? He's a narcissist. That was domestic violence. That was all of that's meaning making. The meaning making when we were together was he's unresourced, he doesn't know any better. Namaha. That was the meaning making. It was just like the meaning making was if he could do better, he would do, presupposing.
Yeah.
If he could do better, he would do better. That was enabling for me in that moment. Remember, all of our presuppositions, every single presupposition, all of it is a belief that we choose to hold. And some are enabling, and some are not. And we're going to make meaning anyway. We cannot not make meaning. Our brains are designed for it. It's our job to direct it skillfully and make meanings that are enabling and wise for us, depending on the context that changes. With me? Did that answer your question, what you were going to say before?
No, that
Okay.
would be
Now
something separate.
Okay.
Separate, but
Okay.
not. In bigger picture, I know that is like accepting whatever is and loving others, even if they are not giving us, like, let's say, reasons to love, it's a right thing to do because they're us.
So much
They're
to
all-
unpack in that. They're not giving us reasons they're not giving us, like there's something
Okay.
for to give us, and reasons to love them. I wonder what a reason to love someone is. What could be a reason to love someone?
I like hanging out with someone and more, and hanging out with someone less. So I know that I dislike certain people, and based on the wisdom that I have, I know that it's possible to love everyone, even if I have preference not to like certain people. And just recently I decided to not force my love if it's not there, and not pretend that I like someone if I don't. Maybe I love them, but I don't like them.
Great distinction.
I don't want to be in their presence. So like, I don't wish them. I wish them well, and I love them, but I don't want to be around them.
That is wise. That is wise sometimes.
And yeah, it was a bit challenging for me to confront myself that I can't love, or I can't be nice to everyone because someone just triggered the shit out of me. And maybe overall it would be good for me and for that person if I would be calm and I would be kind to them. But I'm taking care of myself in a way that I know that at the moment I'm doing my best, and I can't love them, or I can't accept certain behaviors. And so moving on from this, I move on without loving everyone.
Interesting. In my experience, sometimes the most loving act is to not be in someone's space. I don't do that when there's trigger there. To me, when there's trigger there, that's a sign there's something to resolve in this space. There's some greater learning and growth. Not everyone feels that way. Not everyone shares that. In my experience, and I will only speak from my experience, when there is charge there, that is a sign that there's some cleaning up to do. And that this is true for all of us, though the commitment to the cleaning up varies from person to person. And that's a personal choice that you decide, how committed am I to polishing?
That's
Yeah?
exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
Okay. So that again, moment by moment. In this moment, I cannot be around you.
Yeah.
Right now, I have
Yeah.
some other things that are the level of trigger that's happening in this system right now is not useful for me in the context of other things. There's greater wisdom at play. There's an ability to can you stay loving and grateful and appreciative in and through recognizing I really don't want you in my space right now.
In general, or for that person? Appreciative for them.
Let's not say a particular person, let's say a particular behavior, because when we say a person,
Yeah.
we're already like generalizing. There's already an assumption that people are their behaviors, and it's not a person, it's something they've done or said that has triggered you.
That's correct. Yeah.
So-
I'm noticing now distinction.
It's
So
not the person.
because they
it's
might
the behavior.
change behavior, and then I'd be like, okay.
Correct.
I'm with you now.
Okay.
Like,
So
but
it's never
that was
that behavior,
triggering.
yes. And there's certain behaviors that are not okay for me to say I love and appreciate you, and that behavior is not allowed in my space. That my human isn't. It's not healthy for the human to be subjected to that. A perfect example is breathing secondhand smoke. My human has a preference not to breathe secondhand smoke, to walk away. If that behavior is present, move away. Sit. It's that simple. Doesn't mean I have to judge the person that's smoking. Doesn't mean I have to think you shouldn't be doing that. Smoke. Your life. You're here to do the thing that you're here to do, and it's part of your...
What if there is a thought of you shouldn't be doing that? What if that arises?
Ooh. That's an opportunity to look at. How's that true of me? What's the accusation? What's the accusation that I'm making? You shouldn't be... What?
You're not good enough, whatever you are. Like that, you can do better than this.
You can do better than this.
Okay. That's how I feel it.
And are
Not
there places?
acceptance.
And are there places where you say that to yourself? You can do better than this. With judgment,
Probably. Because I know that I can.
release the judgment for yourself, and it'll be amazing how it disappears for the other person. It'll be amazing. You will be amazed how the thing that you thought you can do better than that, you should be doing better than that, just disappears when you're like, you know what? I see you, and you're doing the very best that you can.
If that's true, that's awesome. But I just had this experience with one particular person when I know that it's possible because I did it in the past, and it's very enabling for myself and for the other. But I'm just exploring now, accepting my non-acceptance.
Yes.
I guess that's
Yes.
in a short what I was trying to ask in previous question, that I know that it would be beneficial for everyone, but I am not now in the space
Accepting your non-acceptance.
to accept. And then I would even share that with this particular human, saying that I don't like you, and I don't enjoy your company, and good luck.
What a gift to be so honest.
Yeah.
What a blessing.